The steam curled lazily through the private spa suite as Bianca DuVall lay across a heated marble recliner, cucumber slices sliding slightly off her eyelids. Her friends lounged nearby, sipping green juice and scrolling through their phones, gossiping about who wore what at last night's gala. "Did you see Tatiana's dress? Haute couture or hot mess?" one friend asked, laughter echoing off the tile. Bianca gave a half-hearted chuckle, but her mind wandered. The scent of eucalyptus and wealth couldn't distract her from the quiet ache that had been growing inside her. "I feel stuck," she finally said, peeling off the cucumbers. Her friends paused. "You, stuck, in the penthouse of life?" another joked. "No, seriously." Bianca sat up, pulling her plush robe tighter. "Everything is planned. Every party, every post, every Pilates session. I wake up and feel like a walking brand, not a person." The room grew uncomfortably quiet until one friend piped up. "So, do something different. I saw this influencer talking about how she met her soulmate while dog walking. You should try something like that." Bianca raised an eyebrow. "Dog walking?" "Yeah, normal people stuff." Later that evening, wrapped in a blanket and scrolling alone in her apartment, Bianca stumbled across the clip her friend had mentioned. A viral video of a woman laughing with strangers in a park, surrounded by dogs and sunshine. No designer heels, no filters, just real moments. Bianca's heart twinged. For the first time in ages, she wanted that. Not the perfect photo, but something unfiltered. She watched the video 3 times, then smiled. The next morning, she tossed her Cartier bracelet in a drawer, threw on sneakers, and signed up for a dog-walking app under the name Bia. She had no idea how much one lie would change everything. Bianca quickly learned that walking dogs wasn't just about holding leashes. It was about building trust, routine, and joy. She developed routes based on the dogs' personalities. Prospect Circle Park. A wide green space with shaded walking trails and a bubbling fountain at the center. She took older dogs here who liked a slow pace, stopping often so they could sniff the grass and rest in the sun. The Marina Boardwalk, perfect for energetic pups who loved a challenge. She'd jog with them along the wooden planks, laughing as they tugged her toward seagulls and ice cream carts. Lavender Hill Trails, tucked behind a quiet neighborhood, these dirt paths felt like a secret world. She'd take the shy dogs there, speaking softly to them like they were old friends, crouching down to tie their bandanas and rub behind their ears. With each dog, Bianca was gentle, attentive, and fiercely protective. She called them by ridiculous nicknames, brought them homemade treats, and remembered their quirks like a devoted parent. She spoke to them like they understood everything, and maybe, somehow, they did. One crisp morning, Bianca was walking Ginger, a golden retriever recovering from surgery. As they neared a bustling corner near a vet clinic, Ginger suddenly broke into a sprint. "Ginger, wait!" But the leash was already taut, and Bianca stumbled after her. Ginger ran straight into a tall, athletic man crouching near the sidewalk planters. "Ginger, wait, please," she yelled. "There's my girl," Noah laughed, as Ginger leaped up and licked his face. "I was wondering how you were healing, sweetheart." Bianca skidded to a stop, out of breath. "You know her?" "I'm Noah," he said, standing up and brushing dog hair off his scrubs. "Vet tech. I assisted with her surgery last month. Looks like she's doing great." Bianca smiled, her cheeks flushed. "I'm B, her walker." They chatted for a few minutes before he asked if she wanted to grab a coffee. That cup turned into an hour-long conversation, then another one the following week. Soon it became a regular thing. Coffee, dogs, sidewalk chats, and laughter. Bianca found herself craving their time together. With Noah, there were no pretenses. He talked about his dreams of opening a low-cost animal clinic. He listened when she rambled about the dogs like they were her children. He never once asked about her background, and she never offered it. But the more time she spent with him, the harder it became to keep up the lie. When Bianca met up with them, she smiled and played along. She told vague stories about muddy paws and quirky owners, but always skipped one detail: Noah. She didn't even mention his name, not because she was ashamed of him, because she didn't want to share him. He belonged to a world where conversations were real and emotions weren't polished for social media. He grounded her in a way she hadn't expected. And every time he called her B, part of her wished she could be that person forever. But deep down, Bianca knew this was a temporary fantasy. Her friends were already planning their winter yacht party in Monaco, and soon they'd expect her to fall back in line, lashes curled, secrets intact. Each morning she slipped on sneakers instead of stilettos. Bianca found herself wondering, what if this life, the dogs, the walks, the quiet afternoons with Noah, wasn't just part of the bet? Maybe it was the first real thing she'd ever chosen for herself. Another gala invitations. Bianca rolled her eyes. Bianca tried every excuse she could think of. I'm not feeling well. I have a dog sitting overnight. I double booked. But her friends weren't having it. You have to come, Tatiana whined over the phone. Everyone misses you, B. You've been MIA since this dog walking thing started. And Nico is hosting, another chimed in. He asked about you twice. You ghosted him the last time. Bianca stood in front of her mirror, still in her worn sneakers and hoodie from that morning's walk. The idea of sliding into a designer gown, squeezing into uncomfortable heels and being gawked at like a showpiece made her stomach twist. But the guilt trip worked. That night, she stood outside a glittering marble venue under chandeliers made of ice and crystal, feeling like she didn't belong in either of her worlds. The gala was suffocating, opulent, loud, and curated to perfection. She floated through the crowd like a stranger in her own life, eyes scanning for a quick exit. Then chaos erupted near the open-air terrace. A waiter had dropped a tray, startling one of the dogs that a guest had inexplicably brought. The small terrier slipped its leash and bolted toward the courtyard pool. Screams echoed. Someone shouted for help. Without hesitation, Bianca yanked off her heels and sprinted toward the dog. She dropped to the ground, scooped it up inches from the edge and held it close as it trembled in her arms. Cameras flashed. Phones recorded. And just like that, B the dog walker was exposed. Bianca DuVall, heiress, fashion icon and cover girl, was suddenly trending not for a scandal, but for an act of kindness. It was a normal Saturday afternoon, when Noah's phone buzzed with a notification from a local news outlet. Heiress Bianca DuVall heroically rescues dog at gala. Turns out she's been walking dogs in disguise. He frowned. The thumbnail image looked oddly familiar. He tapped the video, half curious, half bored. And then, the footage played. There she was, B, the woman he'd spent weeks getting to know, laughing with over coffee, sharing stories and dreams with at the shelter. The same woman who wore beat-up sneakers and talked to dogs like they were her best friends. Only now, she stood in a sparkling designer gown, hair immaculately styled, leaping into action to save a runaway terrier at an upscale charity gala. Cameras had caught everything, including the shocked faces of the upper crust watching Bianca DuVall reveal herself mid-rescue. Noah froze. His heart dropped. He didn't even finish the clip. He locked his phone, pushed away from his kitchen counter, and sat in stunned silence on his couch. The coffee he'd brewed for their afternoon walk grew cold on the table. She lied to me. That single thought spun through his mind like a cyclone. Not just about her name, but about everything. Her background, her wealth, her world. Noah had fallen for someone who didn't exist. And it wasn't just the lie. It was the feeling of being used, like a prop in her experiment, to live like a normal person. His walls went up. Memories flickered through his mind. Her hesitant glances when he talked about childhood poverty. How vague she was when asked about her past. How she never invited him to her place. Was any of it real? That night, he didn't sleep. He reread old texts from her. He replayed her laughter. He sat beside Ginger, the dog they'd bonded over. The next morning, he sent a message to Bianca. We need to talk, face to face. He needed time, space. He needed to feel the betrayal before he could decide what to do with it. But what stung most wasn't the deception. It was how much he still cared. Because for all the smoke and mirrors, Bianca had looked at him like no one else ever had. She'd shown up at the shelter, rolled up her sleeves and gotten her hands dirty. She listened, remembered, cared, and maybe, just maybe, some part of her had been telling the truth all along. But Noah didn't see kindness. He saw the lie. The next day, Bianca sat at an outdoor cafe, nervously stirring her untouched coffee. Noah had texted her, "We need to talk, face to face." When he arrived, he didn't smile. "You lied to me," he said simply, sitting down. Bianca opened her mouth, but he raised a hand. No spin, no charm, just truth. She nodded, guilt heavy in her chest. "It started as a bet. My friends dared me to live like a normal person for 30 days. I didn't mean to lie to you. I didn't want you to treat me like her. Bianca DuVall, the brand." Noah's jaw tightened. "But that is who you are." "I didn't expect to care so much about this life, or about you," she whispered. He looked away. "You let me think we were building something real." "I was," she said, voice cracking. "With you, it was real. For the first time, I felt like someone actually saw me. Not my last name, not my trust fund, just me." Noah leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "Then why didn't you tell me the truth before the world did?" Bianca's eyes welled. "Because I was afraid you'd walk away." He stood. "You were afraid I'd walk away from the lie. And now I don't know how to trust the truth. I need time to think about this. I need to go, call you later." Bianca didn't follow him when he left. She just sat there, alone with the life she tried to escape, and the one she feared she'd now lost forever. The private room at the rooftop lounge shimmered in candlelight, the skyline of the city glittering just beyond the glass. Bianca's closest friends lounged on velvet sofas, sipping rosé and nibbling truffle popcorn, laughing about something shallow and sparkling, until B called the meeting to order. "Okay," she said, standing in front of the fireplace. Her heart pounded. "I need to tell you all something, and I need you to really listen." Her friends exchanged curious glances. Tatiana raised an eyebrow. "This sounds serious." "It is," Bianca said. She exhaled. "I've been seeing someone." Eyes widened, jaws dropped. Champagne glasses paused mid-sip. "Wait, what?" said Jules, adjusting her designer headband. "Since when?" "Since I started walking dogs. I met him, Noah, at a vet clinic. Well, technically one of the dogs ran up to him and recognized him from surgery. We started grabbing coffee, hanging out, and I fell for him." Silence. Then, all at once, "You what? You fell for a vet tech?" "B, this isn't like you." She held up her hands. "I know. I didn't plan this. I didn't even tell him who I really was. I just wanted to be me, and I didn't think it would go this far. Then the charity gala happened, and he found out with everyone else." Jules shook her head. "I mean, I'm not mad. I'm just confused. Like, this is about you, not us. But you know what it means, right? You can't exactly introduce him to our crowd." "Exactly," said Simone, twirling her glass. "He's not like us. We don't date guys who can't pronounce Maison Margiela, Bianca." "And yet," added Ivy with a shrug, "if she likes him, he must be okay." The room fell quiet again, eyes turning to Bianca. "Do you?" Ivy asked gently. "Like him?" Bianca's voice dropped. "Yes, I do. I care about him more than I've cared about anyone in a long time, and I don't know how to fix this. He said he doesn't know how to trust me anymore." Simone crossed her legs. "We don't chase men outside our world." "Why not?" Tatiana countered, setting her glass down. "Men do it all the time. You've seen how many hedge fund husbands ran off with yoga instructors and interns. There was a pause. The real question, Jules said, is, can Bea let go of the lifestyle she has now? Bianca sat down slowly, putting her face in her hands. I'm not saying I want to live in a walk-up apartment and clipping coupons life. I'm not throwing away my world, but this version of me, the Bianca he knows, feels more real than anything I've been in years. Tatiana leaned forward. And maybe that's the point. Relationships, real ones, aren't about what you have. They're about what you're willing to build, to risk. Maybe you don't chase in with a designer bag in one hand and a prenup in the other, but you do something. Ivy added. We always talk about building relationships. You know, like it's some future goal. When the guy is right, the house is right, the numbers are right. But that's what you're already doing, Bianca. Getting to know someone, building trust, or trying to. Bianca looked up, eyes watery. I just want to find a way to show him I'm not a game. That I didn't lie to play him. I lied because I didn't want to lose the one thing in my life that wasn't built on a brand or expectation. Simone sighed. Then don't prove it with a text or an apology brunch. Do something that shows him you see his world, that you care about what he cares about. Jules nodded. The women went quiet again, not in judgment, but in something deeper. Understanding. Growth. I'm not saying marry him tomorrow, Ivy said with a soft smile. But don't walk away just because the rules changed. Bea swallowed hard, then stood again, her voice steadier now. I don't know if you'll forgive me, but I'm not giving up until he knows I was serious. That I am serious. They raised their glasses. To real love, Tatiana said. To dog walkers and vet techs, Simone added dryly with a wink. Bea smiled for the first time all night. To finding out who I really am, even if it scares me. Bianca stood outside the Harbor Street Animal Shelter, clutching a donation folder against her chest, heart pounding beneath her coat. This wasn't a designer event. No photographers, no applause. Just crates, cold floors, and the sharp scent of antiseptic and hope. She'd come here for one reason. To prove that Noah wasn't part of a bet. He was a choice. A few weeks had passed since the charity gala disaster, since the look of betrayal on his face, since the aching silence that followed. And during that time she'd made decisions, real ones. She had withdrawn from a European fashion campaign, donated anonymously to 5 animal clinics across the city, and most importantly, she returned to the shelter, where she and Noah first volunteered together to ask how she could help. Not with money, but time. She cleaned kennels. She folded towels. She showed up at 6 a.m. to walk dogs when the regulars called out. And today she had arranged something more. As she stepped inside, the shelter director greeted her with a warm smile. He's in exam room B. He doesn't know you're coming. Bianca nodded. Thank you. Inside exam room B, Noah was gently bandaging a puppy's leg when she entered. He looked up slowly, eyes cautious. Hey, she said softly. Hey. His tone was neutral, unreadable. I didn't want to ambush you, she said. But I figured emails wouldn't cut it. Noah finished wrapping the leg before setting the pup down gently into its crate. What are you doing here, Bianca? She flinched slightly at the use of her real name. I came to show you something. She handed him the folder. Inside were papers, a finalized grant to fully fund the shelter's new mobile unit, signed anonymously until today. Beneath that, a handwritten note. Not for my father, not from the family trust, just me. I'm not trying to fix things with money. I'm trying to prove that I care. About this. About the work. About you. Noah looked up from the note. His expression had softened, but pain still lingered. You didn't have to do this. I did, she said, because you were right. I lied, I hid. I wanted something real. But I didn't know how to build it without pretending I was someone else. She stepped closer. When I was with you, I felt more grounded than I ever have. It wasn't about your job or your world. It was the way you looked at me, like I wasn't a product. The way you saw me. Noah looked at her, conflicted. Bianca, I was falling for someone who never really existed. She did exist, she said, voice shaking. Her name was B, and she was still me, just the version I never knew I could be. They stood in silence for a moment. I didn't come here expecting you to forgive me today or tomorrow. I just needed you to know that I'm not walking away, and I'm not going to make excuses for what I did, but I'm going to show up every single day until you believe that this is not a game. Noah finally spoke, his voice lower. I've watched a lot of people give up on things that matter. You didn't give up on this shelter, or Ginger, or me. I was angry, but I never stopped hoping you'd come back. Bianca's eyes filled. I do. Another pause, then a long breath from Noah. I'm not ready to pretend everything's perfect, he said carefully. I'm not asking for perfect, she said with a hopeful smile. I'm asking for real. He nodded slowly. Then let's see what real looks like. Bianca stepped closer and took his hand, carefully, like handling something fragile. Because she was. Because they both were. And this time, there were no lies between them. Just two people, standing on uneven ground, ready to build something new. Bianca had just left Noah when her phone pinging with a text from her father, home now. She turned white at the text. The thought of having to face her father made her stomach turn. Bianca's heels clicked against the polished floor of the DuVall estate, her pulse thundering in her ears. She had just left the shelter, Noah's hand still lingering in her memory, and she walked straight into a confrontation she wasn't prepared for. Her father, Davidson DuVall, had been waiting in the study, drink in hand, fury in his voice. Do you know what you've done? Do you understand the headlines if this gets out, you being seen with that boy? You're Bianca DuVall, not some pet sitter with a crush on the help. She had stood tall, silent, trembling. You will end this, whatever it is, immediately, Davidson said in an overbearing tone. Bianca hadn't responded. She'd walked out, his voice echoing behind her like a warning bell. Now, in the quiet of her childhood bedroom, she dropped her purse and collapsed onto the window seat, head in her hands. Her eyes stung, and her throat ached from holding back what she wanted to scream. A gentle voice came from the door. Don't tell me you're crying over Davidson again. Bianca looked up. Her grandmother, Mallory DuVall, stood in the doorway, in pearls and silk slippers, holding a teacup and wearing that familiar, amused expression that often made her seem wiser than their entire boardroom put together. You're not even supposed to be in town, Bianca said through a shaky smile. I go where I'm needed, Mallory replied, stepping into the room. Now tell me, what did my overbearing son say this time? Bianca didn't hold back. She spilled everything, about Noah, about the dog walking, about the gala fallout and the shelter, and the moment her father demanded she end it all like she was still 17 asking for a weekend pass. When she finished, Mallory was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Sounds familiar. Bianca blinked. What? Mallory sat down across from her. Your grandfather, Henrik, was an immigrant. No pedigree, no fortune. He worked in a textile mill when I met him. Hands like leather, voice like gravel. My father nearly disowned me when I said I loved him. Bianca looked stunned. Granddad? Oh yes, Mallory chuckled. He had nothing but a dream and a chip-toothed smile. But he adored me. And I was tired of being paraded in pearls and being told to marry the senator's son. What happened? I told my father he could keep the family fortune, but I was keeping Henrik. We eloped. I wore borrowed heels and a skirt suit. And it was the best decision I ever made. Bianca's eyes filled again. But this time it wasn't from sadness. It was from clarity. Mallory leaned forward and touched her hand gently. Your father is a good man, but he forgets what matters. He wants the world to look perfect, but love is rarely tidy. It's messy, raw, full of risk. But it's worth fighting for. I don't know if Noah wants that, Bianca whispered. If he's willing to keep going, I've heard him. Mallory shrugged. So ask him. Tell him everything, and then listen. Really listen. If he's not willing, you'll know. But if he is, then you fight for him just like I fought for your grandfather. Bianca took a deep breath. Your last name might open doors, darling, Mallory said, rising from the chair. But your heart is what makes the home behind them. Bianca smiled through her tears, stood up, and kissed her grandmother's cheek. Thanks, Gran. Now go change out of that tear-stained blouse and figure out what you're going to say. Don't wear Chanel. Wear something honest. As Mallory swept out of the room with royal grace, Bianca turned back to the window. The city lights glittered far below. This time, she wasn't afraid of the fall. She just had to see if Noah was willing to jump with her. The next day, Bianca waited at their usual coffee spot, hands curled around a warm mug, but nerves coiled in her stomach. She had rehearsed the words, but the weight of what she was about to say still made her chest ache. When Noah walked in, her heart raced. He greeted her with a soft smile, unsure but open. You said you needed to talk? Bianca nodded and motioned for him to sit. It's about my father. Noah raised an eyebrow. Okay. He found out about us, about everything, and he did, well, he wasn't subtle, I can imagine. Noah muttered. Bianca reached for his hand. He told me to end it, that I was risking the family image, and maybe I am. Noah's face went guarded, readying for the worst. But I'm not here to break this off, she said quickly. I'm here to ask you where you stand, because I need to know if this, us, is something worth fighting for to you. Because I'm ready to fight, but I don't want to do it alone. For a moment, he said nothing, just looked at her, really looked. Then, I would fight for you, Bianca, he said quietly. I already am. I didn't walk away because I didn't care. I walked because I didn't know if you wanted this outside the fairy tale. But if you're still here, then I'm all in. Tears welled in Bianca's eyes, but they were happy ones. They sat there, in that small cafe corner, just sitting in truth. 3 months later, a banner hung proudly at the front of the hospital garden. Every Animal Lover Foundation, healing hearts with pause and play. The idea had come to them during one of their long evening walks. How could they turn their relationship, this messy, beautiful thing, into something meaningful? They didn't just want to surviving the world's opinions. They wanted to build something within it. Together, they founded an organization focused on animal-assisted emotional support for children and families. The first initiative, partnering with the city's children's hospital to arrange weekly playdates between rescue animals and pediatric patients and families in the hospital garden. Every Friday afternoon, a soft breeze carried the sound of giggles across the courtyard. Golden retrievers chased bubbles. Tiny kittens nestled in blankets on children's laps. For those moments, illness faded and joy bloomed. Noah handled the coordination with shelters and training. Bianca worked with hospital staff and donors, wearing sneakers and a clipboard instead of gowns and diamonds. And at every planning meeting, at every event, Mallory DuVall was there. Your grandfather would be proud, she told Bianca, placing a gentle hand on her back as they set up the first puppy corral. You're finally using your heart and your name for something that makes you shine. Bianca smiled at her grandmother. Thank you for reminding me I could. Bianca kneeled beside a young boy in a wheelchair, helping him pet a small white terrier. Noah is behind her, smiling at the boy with quiet tenderness. Mallory is nearby, adjusting a sun hat on another child and handing out juice boxes. Later that day, as the last family left the garden event, Noah found Bianca leaning against the fence, watching the sunset through blooming rose bushes. He came up behind her and slid his arms around her waist. You know, he said, every time I see a kid laugh out here, I forget why we ever doubted this. Bianca turned to face him. Because the world makes us doubt everything real. He kissed her forehead. Not anymore. Bianca and Noah were having their daily coffee and conversation when her phone pinged and she frowned. What is it? My father wants to see both of us. Your father wants to see me, but why? I don't know, but it can't be good. Noah reaches over and grabs her hands. The Grand DuVall estate felt more like a negotiation chamber than a family home that evening. Bianca and Noah stood side by side at the entrance of the study, his hand steady in hers, her heart thumping like a gavel. Davidson DuVall stood behind his desk, hands clasped, stern as ever. The family crest gleamed behind him like a reminder of legacy and control. I asked you both here for a reason, he said, cutting straight to business. Let's be clear. I don't give my blessing. Not yet. Bianca's chin lifted, prepared for the fight. But, Davidson continued, I can't ignore the fact that this foundation of yours has put the DuVall name in a very positive light lately. News outlets are eating it up. Heiress gives back. Rescue dogs bring smiles to sick children. That kind of PR? It's priceless. Noah said nothing, just nodded politely, letting Bianca handle her father, like she always did, gracefully and with a touch of steel. Davidson looked directly at Noah. You've kept a clean image. No scandals, no hidden agendas, as far as I can tell. But make no mistake, this family isn't easily impressed. Before either of them could respond, the door swung open. Mallory DuVall entered the study like a queen arriving late to court. Deliberate, poised, and a touch dramatic, with her silk shawl wrapped just so. Davidson, she said sharply, give these kids a break. Mother, this is a family matter. She raised a hand. Exactly. Family. And have you forgotten where your own father came from? Davidson grimaced, annoyed and cornered. My father worked 2 jobs, sent money back to Hungary, and married a girl with a heart bigger than her dowry. I fought for him. You're lucky I did, or you wouldn't have this empire to micromanage. Bianca stifled a smile. Mallory stepped forward and gave Noah a quick once-over, then turned to her son with a grin. Davidson, look at their relationship like something you do understand, a merger. 2 different worlds coming together. And what happens when a merger generates positive market buzz? Davidson frowned. Stock prices rise, Mallory said. Davidson blinked. Noah leaned over to whisper in Bianca's ear. Did she just compare our love life to a quarterly earnings report? Bianca whispered back. Welcome to the family. Davidson finally exhaled, lowering himself into his chair. All right then. Let's see where this is going. This relationship might be better than I thought. Then he looked between the two of them. So what's next? A joint initiative? Expansion? What are your plans? Bianca squeezed Noah's hand. Our next plans, she said, raising an eyebrow. She looked at Noah, who smiled knowingly. Our next plan, she said, is dinner. She turned back to her father with a polite but firm smile. We can talk business later. Noah chuckled. Preferably after dessert. Davidson gave a dry laugh despite himself and waved them off. Fine, go, but keep me updated. And, Noah? Yes, sir? Don't mess this up. Noah nodded with a grin. Wouldn't dream of it. As they exited the study, Mallory followed behind, Bianca whispering, You handled that perfectly. Was it the merger metaphor? No, Bianca said. It was making him feel like he was still in control. While you walked out the door with yours. Mallory winked. Just like I'm teaching you. And as they stepped into the hallway, Noah's arm around her shoulders, Mallory's laughter echoing behind them, Bianca knew they'd passed another test. Not just as a couple, but as a force. A week later, the doors of DuVall Enterprises swung open. But this time, Noah wasn't just a visitor, he was Bianca's partner in every sense. They stepped off the elevator and walked side by side into Davidson's executive office, where floor-to-ceiling windows bathed the room in gold afternoon light. Bianca held a sleek black folder in her hand, and Noah looked both composed and resolute. Davidson glanced up from his desk, his silver pen tapping rhythmically against a crystal paperweight. "You're early," he said. "We're ready," Bianca replied. She walked over and placed the folder squarely in the center of his desk. Davidson raised a brow. "What is this?" "Our next project," Noah said. "We're launching a podcast under Every Animal Lover Foundation." Davidson opened the folder, flipping through clean branding mock-ups and a strategic layout. Bianca continued. "The show will feature adoptable animals, fun facts for kids, trivia, rescue stories, and interviews with shelter workers and pet lovers. We're including kid-friendly segments to engage families and schools." Noah added, "There's a campaign component too, partnering with companies to promote pet products like healthy food, clothing, and sustainable accessories. A percentage of the profits will go toward low-income pet adoptions and emergency vet funding." Bianca tapped the last page. "And we've set up a donation page that integrates directly with local shelters. Every listener will have a way to give back." Davidson said nothing for a long moment, silently reading every detail. When he finally closed the folder, he looked up at them with something neither had expected: pride. He stood slowly, rounded the desk, and extended his hand to Noah. "Welcome to the family," Davidson said firmly. Noah blinked in surprise, but quickly recovered and took his hand. "Thank you, sir," he said, voice steady. Davidson turned to Bianca next. "And you've always had ideas. But now you're building something real, purposeful, and I can't argue with results, especially when the press is eating it up." Bianca smirked. "We'll be launching with a live event in the shelter garden next month. Kid-friendly, media-ready, and investor bait," Davidson finished, grinning. "Exactly." He gave a rare, full smile and patted Noah's shoulder. "You're still on probation," he said with a wink. "Wouldn't expect anything less," Noah replied. Bianca laughed and looped her arm through Noah's as they exited the office. As the doors closed behind them, Davidson returned to his chair, opened the folder once more, and muttered under his breath. This merger was good for business after all. Later that evening, after the meeting with Davidson, Noah and Bianca walked hand in hand through the city. Their fingers intertwined, like they'd always known how to hold each other. The tension of the past few months had lifted. Not completely gone, but lighter now. Manageable. Real. They stopped at a quiet bench tucked inside a small city park, the soft glow of nearby string lights dancing across the path. The hum of life buzzed around them, but here, in this moment, it felt like the world had paused just for the two of them. Noah turned to her, serious now, his eyes steady. "You know," he began, "now that I can stop worrying about your father running me over with a private jet." Bianca laughed softly, nudging him. "I'd like to start having a real conversation. About us. About the future." Bianca tilted her head, intrigued. "I'm not saying we run off and get married next week," he continued, "but I want to build something with you. Not just foundations or campaigns. I mean, dinners, bad days, family holidays, road trips, figuring out how you like your eggs without checking the catering menu first." She smiled at that, eyes softening. "I want us to learn each other's messy parts, not just the highlight reels, the boring Tuesday mornings and the late-night arguments. I want the full picture. And I want us to figure it out together." Bianca was quiet for a moment, her heart warm and full. "Let's take it one day at a time," she said gently, "with the goal of marriage. Not because we have to prove anything to anyone, but because we want to earn it." Noah leaned in, brushing her hair behind her ear. "That sounds like the best plan I've heard yet." And then he kissed her, slow, sincere. The kind of kiss that said, "I see you, I choose you, and we're doing this right." No deadlines, no spotlights, just love, commitment, and one step at a time, together. Thanks for listening to Green Tea Tales. Help our channel to grow with likes, shares, and subscribes.